Thank you guys very much. Thanks, Kurt, for the very nice introduction. Thankfully, called in denied a little bit earlier. If not, this would not be very, very fun. So, as Kurt mentioned, I work for PrimeiroPay, and I wanted to make a very brief introduction of the company. So the company was basically born to make payments locally simple. So we work hand in hand with our clients in order to address their specific needs in the countries we operate. Reduce the complexity of working in those markets. So basically we operate mainly in Latin America, which are very closed markets and not very easy to receive payments on. And we always try to build strong local partnerships that allow solution to be very sustainable. So this is one of the main goals that we have inside the company. I'm going to speak a little bit about Brazil, which is the biggest market that we have in Latin America, but most of the things also apply to Latin as a whole. So right now, Brazil, as I said, is the biggest economy in Latin America. We have gone through a very big recession over the past few years, but this recession seems to have ended, and right now we're seeing a very big increase in economic activity, as well as confidence levels, which also means much more Brazilians traveling abroad and bringing business to foreign hotels and OTAs. A little bit of a few numbers. In 2018, only international travels, Brazilians have spent $2 billion in February, and in 2017 the total amount was $19 billion. So you guys can see it's a very big market, and it has a lot of volume to be processed in country. 64% of the population is online, and 27.4 million people made at least one purchase online, which means the country as a whole has a very big penetration on e-commerce and not necessarily only in POS. These are all very good numbers, but this also brings us to the difficulties of processing in those markets, not only in Brazil, but also in Latin. Cross-border acquiring means that a big part of the Brazilian market is not achieved, as only 30% of all the credit cards in the country that are issued actually accept payments in foreign currency, and therefore the rest, 70%, cannot be used on these transactions. This shows a little bit the importance to achieve the Brazilian market as a whole. Also, there was a tax instated in 2013, 6.38% tax on all the amount purchased in foreign currency, which makes all the consumers shift their payments to providers that offer solutions in domestic currency, so in reais, and in Mexico in pesos, Argentina, Colombia, and so on and so forth. Not only that, there is also the exchange rate of credit card, and the whole cost for a client making a purchase in foreign currency adds up to roughly 12% of initial volume. So a reservation of a hotel of $100, the client will end up paying $112, only for the fact that they're making a payment in foreign currency. And this brings to the importance of making local payments. So basically our idea and the whole idea of the company is to enable the company to safely offer payments, installment, and local payment methods in reais with no exchange rate variations or the need for a local entity. So most of the companies that try to enter Brazil and process payments locally have to go local and open relationships with banks, acquirers, and so on and so forth. We facilitate this, and the idea is exactly that no local entity is needed. However, all of this, and this all looks very good, but this adds a risk that didn't exist in the company before, which is exchange rate. So I don't know how many of you actually know, but Brazilian real is a currency, and Mexican pesos as well, that is a very volatile. So meaning you have receivables in reais and payables in dollars means you now add an extra risk to your business that you didn't have before. And this is exactly the solution that we provide here. So considering this example, a customer buys a property, makes a reservation, in the amount of $100, and the exchange rate is 370 reais per dollar. The client will happily pay only 370 without the 12% added fee to it. But when you make this remittance of this 370 reais onto your head office to make the payment of the hotel, you didn't receive the $100 that you expected. You only received 98.67 because the currency changed to 375. Just as an idea, the average VAR, the value at risk, for 1 year in the currency is roughly 30%. So 30% vol in the currency that can take the margin up. So the solution is we provide with our partner Citibank. I came from when I developed the solution in the bank, and the idea is basically PrimeiroPay provides an exchange rate in advance, and all of the reservations that are made in a 24-hour period will have this exchange rate that was provided. So then all of the currency exposure is gone because who's taking the risk is not the OTA and is not PrimeiroPay, is the bank that we partnered with. This rate is made available through API, so this is consumed every day and can be used to feed the rate on the website to make the conversion from foreign currency onto reais or to Mexican pesos. And this is all done automatically, which means virtually zero operational risk or failure. The settlement is made in merchants' preferred currency, and as I mentioned, it is all made automated so that there is no operational failure. And then we get to the part on the right. So you make a sale of $100 that is equivalent to 370 reais. 3 days later, exchange rate goes to 375. The transaction is executed at the rate of 370, and the merchant receives $100 guaranteed. This basically allows the company to focus effectively on where it matters. So can use all of our great partners that provided their solution here today, focus on pricing strategy and so on and so forth, and not worry about payments. You can also very easily pass part of the cost to the client, and this is also doable so that in the end you have exactly the price that you need to. So you have the $100 that have to be received, you know exactly what will be charged on, you can pass this cost on to the client, and you'll receive effectively the $100 that need to be received. And as I mentioned, I spoke about Brazil, but this solution is available throughout Latin. You can speak to us later about all the countries. Thank you very much.